Hello,
Hello, welcome back.
back on the show.
So, we got a lot to cover.
We have a lot to
We
cover.
got a lot of good feedback. We got a lot of good feedback.
Oh, what is this?
It's what we asked people to give us feedback on. Should we do
Yes.
ads?
Yes. Let's talk
All
about
right.
that
So,
first.
what's your vibes? Just we'll do vibes only first, and then we can talk specific feedback. What are your vibes from the people?
So I think we even have different vibes, which is
I
interesting.
think
My
we
vibes was
do.
that people were like, I want to pay for it because I want to support the show and I don't want to listen to ads. That was the primary takeaway I took.
My primary takeaway was we don't want to pay. Just keep doing ads. How did we get different takeaways?
It's crazy. Different corners of the internet or something.
I feel like I sent you all the messages, or I sent you screenshots of all the
Yeah.
messages that I got.
But even the ones you sent were like, but I would pay. There was like the asterisk. They're like, but the ones you saw were like, I prefer not to pay, but I would pay.
Yeah.
Before we even get in deeper in that,
Okay.
okay, so that's kind of like where that shook out. But I have another idea that I think you are going to love, and I think
I love
we should
ideas. Tell
cover
me.
because I think it hits both sides. So I just came up with this idea this morning. It hit me in
Oh,
the shower.
wow.
It's a shower
Fresh.
idea,
It's
so you know
fresh.
it's good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So here's the thing. I think the podcasts are much better for brand advertising over direct response,
Okay.
which,
Agreed.
right? Okay. But
Mhm.
people tend to use them as direct response. Like,
Mm-hmm.
here's promo code X for $50 off, right? But like, I'm walking my dog, I'm in the car. Like, when I'm listening to podcasts is not necessarily when I'm ready to take action like that, right?
Correct.
So, the ads we've had on this show so far have been like, hey, 2 spots, 4 spots, 1 spot. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and okay, but like, that's not very good for brand advertising, right? Like, normally you want to like hear the name over and over and
Yep.
over. That's like the deal. So what if we
Okay.
took an idea from, like, I'm thinking like AM radio, but you also see it in like football games and things like that, where they're what they would call spots, and it's like 5 to 15 seconds. It's the
Mm-hmm.
name and a tagline. And so it's
This
like
is
mail
interesting.
coach, everything you need to start sending newsletters. Help spot, everything you need for, your customer service, right?
Okay.
And
Too short to
it
fast forward.
too short to fast forward. We're gonna go through them, right? We're gonna read them just live. I think generally would be the idea. But either way, and it's like there's 8 spots an
Hmm.
episode. It's $1,000 a month, or what? I'm making up numbers here, but like, and so yeah. So if you're the small businesses that are kind of in our circles, like, hey, you could come up with $1,000 a month to advertise on the show, right? And
Hmm.
get your brand name out
Hmm.
there over and over. And
Mm-hmm.
now I hear
Mm-hmm.
Mail Coach over and over and over for a whole
Mm-hmm.
year. So when I'm ready to send a newsletter, I'm like, oh, Mail Coach is what I
Mail
send newsletters
coach.
with, right? Not just like if I happen to listen the one day
Right,
where they
right,
happen
right.
to be advertising, right? It's like, no, I've been hearing about Mail Coach for a whole year. And so it gets to the brand, it gets affordable price point. We're not charging the listeners, but it's also not that abusive to the listeners. So that's was what I was thinking.
Can we still do an auction? Can we still do it publicly?
It could be an auction.
If so, I'm in. I'm in.
I
I
think
love it.
it's almost like yeah. I mean, the auction's kind of. I think it even works better kind of for the auction because I think the
And maybe
auction you
maybe
need.
auction is incorrect. Just publicly available purchasing.
Yes, well, that's the thing. I think it fits with that nicely too because the problem with the bigger ads is like they're just not that simple. Like people are
Right.
like they have different needs. They're asking me questions. They want feedback. They want us to pre-record it and send it to them for confirmation. There's just a
I ain't
lot of
doing that.
stuff, right? Like, and so whereas it's like, hey, this is $1,000 a month. You're getting 4 ad reads a month generally with like some asterisks. We might miss a show. You don't get a refund, whatever, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's a lower threshold, right? It's like this is a simple thing. It's going to be awesome for your brand. We're going to talk about your brand, but it's not big and heavy like a big ad campaign is or all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. So yeah, I think it works better with that. We could have like, here's 8 slots, here's how many are available, or whatever the number of slots is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's like mid-roll and front, or whatever. Maybe those are, I don't know, maybe those are different prices potentially, I
Mm-hmm.
could imagine. So yeah, there's some stuff like that.
I
What
love
do you
it.
think?
This is
I knew
great.
you would like
This is great.
it.
No
I knew you would
notes.
like it.
Completely on board. I love this so much. This is perfect. It's everything I've
Yeah.
ever wanted.
And it's like less work for us, presumably.
Yes.
It's like, hey, if we get some sponsors who are like, yeah, we're going to just do this every month, for 6 months or whatever, great.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know who they are. We read them in the show. it's not new contracts and new whatever. I mean, we don't even generally do contracts,
Not
but
even
sometimes
doing
they want
contracts, yeah.
contracts. Like we have signed contracts because other people want contracts. So even in that case, it's like, fine, I signed a contract and I'm doing this for 6 months. Great. That's like not a hassle. It's like kind of annoying when it's for one ad. Like,
Right.
It's like, okay. So yeah. All right. You love it.
I love it. I think it's great. All
right.
That's right. We
I
don't
like
have to
it too.
charge the people. We still get to charge the companies. We don't have
Yep.
to do a lot of back and forth over the ad reads. I think Justin Jackson sent us a screenshot of somebody that was like, this company rejected my ad read because it was 29 seconds and not 30 and made me redo the whole thing. And I'm like, I'm not doing any of that.
Into all that stuff. And
So
it's like for our audience, you know, like the people in our audience with businesses could benefit from this. Whereas like we're charging more for bigger spots. It's like, well, I'm only going to pay $2,000 for 1 minute spot. Or, you know, it's like that's not really.
Also,
that's a bigger company.
It's more beneficial for the listeners because they get exposed very quickly to several interesting, hopefully dev tools, developer related things.
Yep.
Versus listening to a minute of one thing that they may not need at the moment.
Yep. I think definitely listener wise. I mean, we'll see what people say, and if we do it, we'll see what they say. But I feel like I would definitely prefer the like, here's 45 seconds to a minute of like 3 or 4 brands that are potentially very interesting to you, and then we're back to the show versus like the minute long on every detail about some services, whatever uptime and SOC 2 compliance or whatever, all that whole thing. So, all right.
This is it. So what's next? We throw up a page. Let's throw up a page with some Stripe buy now buttons on it.
All right. Well, that sounds like an Aaron thing. I'm not gonna lie to you. That sounds like an Aaron live stream.
No, sir.
While he cranks out the podcast buy buttons.
No, Aaron's got too much to do. Ian, on the other hand, doesn't do anything. Ian doesn't do anything. Over on the bad place, Brian Castles, he's dragging you because what does Ian even do? Nothing. So here's
bad place. You mean Blue Sky, which
I do.
Illogical.
Yeah.
But okay. Yes. Mm-hmm. When do we get you over there? When do we get you over there?
I know. Listen, I've been very clear that after Thanksgiving, if it's still alive, I will come over. I've said this many times, and even Ian in this very moment was surprised when I said it again. So I guess I haven't said it enough.
I'm surprised.
After Thanksgiving, if it's still a thing, which all signs are pointing to, it will still be a thing. It seems to be going strong against my estimation and wishes. It seems to be going strong.
Yeah.
So I keep saying this, and everybody's like, "Oh, Aaron, you got to come to Blue Sky." I'm like, guys. I already told you. Post Thanksgiving, I will come over. So the time is rapidly approaching.
Maybe we don't even want you to come over. We have the fake Aaron account that has you like
that is fine.
It's like a little sort of Jesus take on it.
Yes.
Like a little
I don't want to go where I'm not wanted. So if you don't want me there, that's great. That sounds awesome to me, frankly.
You should hire that guy. Maybe we should pay that guy to be fake Aaron just full time.
Well, he already outed himself. One of the screenshots had his profile picture in it, and it's like, man, you'd be a terrible spy. You're very bad at this.
Come on, you got to up your game. You got to have a separate browser. You got to just be like that's dedicated.
I know.
Cross post in there, but
so eventually.
All right. So bad place. Yes.
Back to the point at hand.
Yes.
So over where all the conversation happens and it's so much more fun and everybody engages, whatever, over on the other side. There was some commentary about Ian always has these things, these ideas, and they never come to fruition. And I'm always hearing about Aaron's stuff moving. But what does Ian even do? Ian always says, this is my Brian Castle. Ian always says, I don't have time, but what do you actually do all day? And the man makes a good point. What do you do all day, Ian?
Well, I smoke a lot of cigars.
Yeah, exactly.
Drink scotch, a lot of
Count
scotch.
Your money.
Count my money. Brian Castle's trying to get after me. He's trying to get after me. But it was very cool because it spurred me to log my entire day that day. So I logged my entire day. And just as a little side note, I've been loving logging my days. And so then I logged all day Friday. This was Thursday. I already been logging today, so now I'm logging my day, and let me tell you, it's great.
What spite can make a man do.
It's so good.
It's a spite log.
It's a spite log, but it's so good.
Listen up, Brian. Focus up.
It's a reverse to-do list. It's like, you know how your to-do list never ends?
Yeah.
And it's like
Boy, do I.
miserable, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just stuff gets added and you take
This
one
is
thing off, but it's still 30 things. You're like,
Yep.
this is stupid.
This
Why am I
is a
even
to-done
bothering?
list.
It's the to-done list. And like every time you add something, you feel better. You're like,
You feel
oh my God.
better
like,
and
there's
not
another
worse.
thing.
Yeah.
Yes, I've done another thing
Imagine
today.
feeling better about adding a thing to a list. God, that sounds
so
awesome.
good. So
I
good.
only ever feel worse.
I only ever feel worse. So
It's
this has
terrible.
been a huge revelation. So this is, look at the Blue Skies already produced for me. Friend of the show, Brian Castle, has produced for me. A nice little addition. We'll see if I stick with it. But so
Friend
far,
of the show, also suck it, Brian Castle. You're
Suck
about
it,
to
Brian.
get you're about to get owned by the to-done list.
you're about to get 45 minutes of what I did on last Thursday. All right.
All right, give us the
Are you
highlights.
ready?
What did
It's
you
gonna be-
What did you
it's
do
gonna
last
be a little
Thursday?
long. No.
Yeah.
I'm not giving you highlights. Let's just start there.
No, okay.
No highlights. We are going
All
line
right.
by line. Line by line. I'm glad you got a little beverage there.
I'm ready. Yeah.
It's gonna be a long one.
I'm gonna mute the Riverside and switch to Twitter. But yeah, keep going. Go. Tell me.
All right. So Thursday, last Thursday, 9 a.m. One-on-one call with Dave, producer Dave.
Producer Dave. Hey, Dave.
We talked about Lara Jobs content thing we're doing for Lara Jobs. We talked about the Lara Jobs affiliate program, which is out today, actually.
I got an email about it.
If you want to make some money along with us, you can go ahead and sign up for Lara Jobs affiliates. We're giving $150 every time you send a job our way. So, hey, if you have a podcast or a blog, you're not monetizing, might be a little way to do that. And we talked about mostly technical sponsorship, some stuff with that, and maybe him helping with some of that stuff. So that was the one-on-one. 10:20 a.m. I had to send a contract to a mostly technical sponsor. So I did that. It was an email, and I had to fill out the contract and whatever. 10:30 a.m.
Oh, that only took 10 minutes. That's great.
That was not bad. Yeah,
That's not bad. That's pretty good.
I actually had already done some stuff with it, which was previous days, but whatever.
Got it.
The R&D tax people. So every year we do this like R&D, you get the R&D credit. To do that, you have to have this third-party company. It's insane. Like they do nothing. They literally do nothing. And they just take a quarter of your tax credit as their fee, but whatever, fine. So I had to email them with a bunch of stuff. So I had to like get our payroll report and I had to get last year's tax return for the business and blah, blah, blah. Put that all together. Send that to them. Use their, I thought I wrote that in here, but use their, that took 15 minutes, primarily because their Dropbox thing, totally insane. It's asking me for a password I don't have. It's asking me for an ADP, like company network login that I don't have, of course, because I don't work there. So I had to like navigate all that. 10:45. I reached out to Tiny MCE, which is the WYSIWYG makers, for a quote, real-time follow-up. They wanted to do a call. I said no. Actually, well, that's later. That's later in the day. So I won't even get that now. What great radio this is. 11 a.m.
We're only at 11 a.m.
One-on-one call with Matt, who's our DevOps guy here. Okay. We talked about, and programmer. We did some HelpSpot. The next version of HelpSpot's going to have official translations from us. So we talked about some tech stuff with that. We also have to move HelpSpot Cloud into IPv6 from IPv4.
Sounds like a nightmare.
AWS is a complete nightmare. It's like a 6-month-long project because AWS decided to charge us almost $5 per IP, and we have like 400 servers, so it actually adds up to a lot of money. So we're working on IPv6, which is free. Noon, I spent a little time on some HelpSpot dev work. 12:30, I went to lunch. 1, I did some random emails for half an hour.
30-minute lunch.
Yeah, normally I do an hour because normally I walk.
It's not that long, yeah.
No, today was tight because I was very busy.
I was hoping we would get an hour and we could fast forward over some time here, but 30 minutes. Wow, that's crazy.
This is a full day.
Dang,
I know.
All right. Yeah.
We got a lot of feedback that people actually wanted to hear this breakdown.
Yeah,
so
no, this is great. It's
going to be very boring for you.
1 o'clock. Here we are. What happens at 1?
It looks like you're going to pass out. You actually look like you're going to fall asleep.
No, it's good.
All right. So 1 o'clock, I just lumped an entry of like random email. I was cleaning up my email, just whatever, random stuff, nothing that interesting. 1:30, I was still in email, but the one I pulled out of this was that with this Tiny MC got back to me, they wanted to do a call. I said, I don't want to call. I sent you all the information. Send me a quote. Now that was Thursday. I'm just going to note that they haven't gotten back to me yet. So apparently they refused to give a quote without this call.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. So the whole WYSIWYG world is insane, whatever. So I don't have a quote from them. I'm trying to pay them money. They won't let me pay them money. There's a whole side thing there, whatever. 2:00. One-on-one with Cremo, who's our software developer we hired a few months ago.
What's the name?
Cremo is his name.
Cremo. Okay.
Cremo, yeah. He's actually from France, but he's a U.S. citizen now. So HelpSpot uses a thing called the Swift Mailer, which is a package for sending mail.
Yep.
It is no longer maintained, so we have to switch to the Symphony Mailer, which is now part of Symphony. Even Swift Mailer was maintained by Symphony, but it wasn't written by Symphony. And of course, they're not going to just make it API compatible, because that would be nice and simple, right?
Yeah.
Right. You got to have progress.
You got to move forward.
Yeah. So we have to build a thing to, whatever. We have to make code changes, but also do some underlying stuff, whatever. So we're talking about that. And just other kind of what's on the list for him going forward. So that kind of one-on-one stuff. 3:00.
What time's the day end? Just so I'm prepared.
6:00.
Okay.
So,
all right. Keep going.
Yeah. We're gonna keep going. 3:00. I went and got tea.
That's nice.
Took 20 minutes and walked around the corner, and there's coffee shop around the corner.
Brian may be right. There's time for side projects in here. 30-minute lunch and a 20-minute tea. That's 50 minutes, baby. We're cooking.
I should have cut that. All right. Okay. Oh, here's a good one. 3:20. I had to read very carefully through an email from the accountants about fringe benefit calculations.
Oh, nice.
Yes, because for the owner of a company, at least a S Corp, I don't know how this works elsewhere, your health insurance is income. You can't write it off.
Right.
But then there's also other benefits that you can't write off, like your automobile, although I know people who do. And if you have like company paid life insurance and things. But whatever. This was a pretty complicated email that I didn't want to screw up and had a form with it. So I had to like carefully go through all that and do all that stuff for the end of year accounting. 3:30. I kind of jumped the gun, so we can skip this one. This was ADP wrote back to me and said how to get into their system, and I couldn't get in and all that stuff.
Oh, getting close.
Deleted an invoice for a customer that isn't using HelpSpot anymore, and we auto build them because they're on subscription. But the deleting of invoices in our new back office system, which is this huge system we have, that's a big app of its own. Under a certain scenario, you can't delete an invoice, so I do it manually, which was annoying. So then at 4:30, I wrote up an issue for us to build the tool to delete invoices so that we can just push a button and delete invoices. So that was 4:30. 4:45, had to write an email to a customer who owes us a very large invoice of like $30-something thousand.
Holy moly.
Has owed us this since like July. And not that they're not going to pay, but it's like stuck in this bureaucracy of a giant company. So I'm kind of dealing with that. It's not like escalated to me writing the contact and so on. Let's see, 4:55. Wrote an email to a HelpSpot partner that has a demo server with us that needed some customization for it because they give demos with this server, whatever. All right, 5:00. We're at 5. We're almost there. Although there's still like 10 items on the list.
No, I know that. They're all like 10-minute increments. You're killing me.
Listen, this is what goes on. If I just said, "Oh, I did some email," that would feel like I wasn't working, right?
Feel like a cop out. Brian would get you.
They're gonna hold my feet to the fire, so I gotta lay it out. So this is I just signed an invoice with some information for Laracon India because we're sponsoring Laracon India.
Nice.
So some
you
stuff
going to
about
India?
how to pay them. I am not going to India. I do want to go to India, but not this year. Are you going?
No. Too far. Australia and India are too far away to be family allowed at this point.
Yeah, that's a haul. So I want to go to EU, but I don't think it's going to happen because my daughter has a big thing the day when, like Sunday before, so I couldn't leave till Sunday night, and then I wouldn't get there till halfway through the conference. And
nah, don't do that. So that's a pity, though.
I know, I would like to go that. Some random email stuff at 5:05, time off requests and things like that.
Save it for the end of the day. Smart employees. You're tired at that point.
Or they were
You
just
send it to the boss and say, "Hey, I'd love to." Yeah, whatever. I don't care. It's 5:05. So that's smart. That's good.
Yes. I always say yes, but
Good strategy.
5:15. I set up some stuff in day one to log because I hadn't been logging in day one, so I moved this to day one. This logging operation, so it's a little meta. I was logging.
What do you mean?
Logging.
You set up day one like a
Day one
journaling
is the
thing?
app. Yeah, it's like a journaling thing, which I use for like my private journal, but you can have multiple journals.
So we got a snake eating its own tail situation here now. So you're logging all day, and then you're like, I gotta have somewhere to put this log. I'm gonna sign up for logging, but that itself needs to go into the log.
It's recursive.
It's crazy.
All right, we're almost to the end. 5:20. Reviewed some pull requests.
We just
for changes to the back office.
5:10, 5:15, and now we're doing 5:20. We're never gonna make it, Ian.
I'm moving, baby. I'm moving. Now I'm reviewing pull requests. We're into actual code here.
Okay.
Reviewing pull requests. For some changes to the back office as well as some HelpSpot changes. 5:30. I chatted with you for 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's good chat.
About
some mostly
technical stuff. I forget what it was.
Yeah.
This is like that Seinfeld where he's like, Mr. What is it? Mr. Kramer, he has the intern. It's like Mr. Kramer took tea with Mr. Newman.
And with Darren's help, we're gonna find those chickens. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, 3 more. 5:35. I went back to the PRs.
Yeah.
I had the content stuff for Lara jobs, needed some work for the content pages, so I've been messing with that. 5:45. Approve some Dependabot pull things. You know about the Dependabot?
I know about it. I don't use it. I think I use it. I think
it's a little bit annoying, but I feel like
it's built into GitHub.
Yeah, I think it's built into GitHub.
I get those. So
anyway,
it
tells you if you have dependencies that are out of date and gives you the pull request to update it. Although you have to be careful because obviously it'll do like huge.
It doesn't know anything. Yeah,
it doesn't know anything. And 6:03, I left the office to drive. There we go.
There we go.
5 minutes. It's only 10 minutes.
A day in the life of a small business owner.
One day.
A
lot of stuff in there.
A lot of stuff. Why don't you, with that level of detail, why don't you come up a level and synthesize what is having logged at least 2 days, which we'll see if we'll check in next week to see if you get if that continues. Yeah. What does this tell you about your life?
It's hectic. That's one thing. It's a lot of bouncing between types of things, right? It's
like
dev stuff, business stuff, accountants, different right? There's Lara jobs, there's HelpSpot, there's I did 3 one-on-one calls with the employees. So there's like the HR manager thing going on.
There were at least 2 or 3 mostly technical tasks in there as well.
There was several mostly technical tasks, right? Which takes time, and this is where where the sponsorship comes in, right? Like support the show. The show takes more time than you might think.
More of Ian's time than you might think.
More of Ian's time, anyway.
Sorry about that.
Ian's employees' time. So I think this was definitely a very full day. Like not every day is just like this packed with random stuff, and there are definitely days where it's like, I have like 3 hours where I just like code something or I'm doing a specific thing.
That's a dream.
But, that is the dream, but not less days than I would like for sure. So I mean, this is like, some of it is like our size. Like I imagine some of these things, like if I had a tier of managers, some of these things would be in that tier, right? And wouldn't come up to me potentially. So, but we're small. We're only 5 full-time people, and so things bubble up to me. So
here's the other question: Is this, looking back, is this what you want to be doing with your days?
So that's now we're getting deep here. I think it's like, listen, of course I would rather not, especially like the little administrative stuff is like definitely not fun, right? Like that's just, the accountant wants something from you. It's not exciting. ADP wants something from you. No, I don't, that's all terrible, right? But I don't know what else I would be doing. That's the thing. It's like, well, I make a reasonable amount of money. What else would I do if I wasn't doing this? I don't know.
Other stuff,
right? Other stuff,
make
I guess.
Stuff. Personal budgeting app or something.
Yeah, I know, but it's like, how am I going to fit all that? So okay, let's talk specifically about side projects. Like, where do side projects fit into this? Because like obviously you could get into like, well, you sell the business and all that stuff. Whatever, that's like a bigger thing.
Sounds awesome.
Could I fit side projects in? But the thing is, all these things, this is what weighs me down, right? It's like, oh yeah, you do the side project, then the side project becomes just one of these things, right? So it's like Larajobs is a perfect example. There's multiple Larajobs things I talked about in here from that day. And Larajobs side project, and it makes some money, but it doesn't make like life world changing.
But more than anything, it's spawning to-dos.
And it's spawning to-dos, right? Like, and so it makes enough money that's worth the to-dos, but it's like any side project's the same thing, right? Except it's going to be making no money probably, or little money. And now there's things that come from that. Like you need to start up a corporation to keep it separate, and you need to like have accountants for that. And you need to do this, and you do that, and you have customers, and people want stuff, and the people trying it are like, hey, these bugs are in here, and blah blah blah. Like, and it's like, it's a lot of work, you know. It's a lot of work to add into all this, and then obviously we didn't cover like I have kids and wife and all the stuff that goes on outside of work, having bandwidth for that versus just coming home and being totally wrecked. So that's where, like, I don't know. That's where every time I get into side, it's like I want to code some stuff that's fresh and new. That's always fun, but it's hard to justify. It's hard to justify.
I told our au pair the other day, she's 25. I said, Jasmine, never turn 35. Life is such a burden at 35. Never do it.
Yeah,
and I feel like you're, what are you, 45? It's supposed to be better.
48. I just turned 48.
When does it get better?
Well, see, you're just making a choice, right? It's like, listen, do I want the risk of doing other stuff which may or may not pay off, or do I do the stuff that I know pays the bills?
Explore or exploit.
Then you get to the later you go, you're like, boy, do I want to like put that energy into this? Do I want to like, what if it goes south and the main business also goes south, and now I'm like, I have to go get a job or something like that, you know? Like, it's like I wouldn't make it out there. I wouldn't make it.
No, you wouldn't.
So I wouldn't make it. So it's like, yeah. But I do. It's the responsibility. It does weigh on you. It's like, yeah, I know I got bills. I got all the stuff we want to do. Gotta save money. Gotta have money, and so you take the more conservative route. That's just what naturally occurs, which is, you know, sometimes to your detriment, right? Like if things change and you're stuck on the conservative route, then that can be bad.
If you ride your success over the top and you haven't yet explored new avenues, you might be hosed.
It's possible, yes. So yeah, I mean that's a risk. I mean, some of my personal hedging on stuff like that is like, hey, I have stuff like this podcast. I have other things, Larajobs and whatever. So I do already have some like other avenues. Not that the podcast is going to make an amount of money to replace my salary, but it's like people know me. I'm out there, right? Like it's like if we ever need to do other stuff, it's a platform for that.
I don't think you're in danger though, because HelpSpot's been around for 20 years.
Right. It's not. There's no imminent issues like that. Yes.
Momentum is such a hard thing to fully kill off.
Crazy hack or something insane happens, you know, you never know. I mean, I think it's unlikely, right? I mean, obviously lots of big companies have been hacked and they're still here, so even that isn't necessarily death blow or anything.
Just
we're not dealing
follow
with
their
money.
playbook, pretend to apologize, and then forget about it forever.
Exactly. That's, I mean, pretty much what everybody does, but you never know. But yeah, so I agree. I mean, I'm not super worried about that kind of thing, but you know, it's still, I also don't have like, I could just like retire tomorrow and not worry about it level of money saved. So it, you know, it's still out there that like only one kid in college, only in his first year. You got 2 more coming behind. You got other big expenses coming. So yeah, so that's what I do. I don't know. I think there's some of this stuff. Yeah, a lot of that stuff from that day though. It's like stuff that it just is what it is. Like there's not even getting rid of it. It's like just people need stuff from me and I have to give it to them. Just, like the accountant needs something, I have to give it to them. Like that's it. The employees, I need to talk to them and, you know, run the business. So that has to happen, right? And that part is the one-on-ones with the employees is actually really good. For people who don't do that, I would definitely recommend it. We've done different strategies over the years. Right now, we're at every other week. Within the alternate week, we kind of do a big HelpSpot meeting. So that's like, so it's like every other week, big HelpSpot meeting, and then the other week is one-on-ones. But it's quite motivating, I think, to have the one-on-ones because just like you get to just talk to the people and see what's going on, and like I don't know, I always find it kind of energizing. So yeah, I know a lot of work remote dev shops may not do them that much, but
I don't think Taylor's ever spoken to any of his employees.
I don't think he does the one-on-one.
No, yeah, I don't think so. Especially not now.
Maybe now he's probably not doing it, right? But like I think there are more meetings now probably with him and some of the executives, and then I don't know if how the managers are structuring things, but yeah. that's a different kind of business. Everything about I don't know. It's like following DHH, following Taylor. Like these are not like strategies for normal people, right?
These aren't communicable attributes.
Yeah, like make this thing like so everybody in the world's super excited about, and like when people get a job there, they're like, I've like made it to the mountaintop. Like I don't know if like that's something you can just follow. I think you have to have a different strategy for keeping people engaged and yourself engaged. I don't think that's an A plan for most people with their businesses. Well, there you go. I hope Brian's happy. I hope the people are happy who wanted to hear about a day in the life of a 20-year-old software company. That's what it is. There's all these little things that have crept in. The back office system. And we can do a whole show on the back office system. It's a giant application we built.
I love a back office system. I really do.
It's insane. It's probably a similar amount of code to HelpSpot itself. And it just does all these things, all this invoicing and edge cases and deploy for cloud to deploy customers. And like, it's a gigantic application. It does all kinds of stuff. And yeah, that's its own thing that needs maintenance and has bugs and
every sufficiently mature business ends up rolling their own accounting at some point.
You kind of have to. It's like the other stuff just doesn't do it. I know there's the dream. That's another dream. It's like, oh, I just charge $29 a month and I just do Stripe and that's it. And like, but it's not real. Like, it's like, and there are obviously businesses that do that, but you just have big customers that are like, I want you to invoice me. I want you to set the purchase order. I want you to take a check. I want you to take a bank transfer. And Stripe does do more of that stuff now. For a long time, they didn't do any of that. And so,
Stripe has become hideously complicated. So hopefully it handles all of that now.
Right. But even that, it's like, we looked into that a little bit before we rebuilt this back office. And it's like, even those systems were very complicated and it seemed kind of weird how they work. And then of course, they're also taking like 1% or several percent or whatever. So now it's like, well, our biggest customers that send us the most money will now have the biggest fee from Stripe. And it's like, well, that kind of sucks.
So who processes your credit cards?
We do use Stripe for the credit cards.
Okay.
Yeah, but
so then you use Stripe for credit cards, but you get a lot of what? ACH, eCheck, other stuff?
Right. Yeah, right. All the, like ACH and just physical checks. And then so we generate so we have our own invoices system. So we make the invoice and it might be paid by Stripe or if not, then it's just an open invoice that's a receivable and then that gets marked paid when we receive a check or receive a ACH transfer. And that's still like 50% of our sales are not credit card. Yeah.
That's how it was at the property tax firm because it's a very like physical business because we're, sending them letters and working on their house and sending them invoices in the mail and everything. And we would get, when it was billing season, we would get just hundreds of checks in our PO box that just had to be opened and processed and invoice marked. And oh, dude, it was brutal. We used Zoho Invoice for that, and it was fine. But yeah, the paper check thing it's kind of a nightmare.
Yeah, and for us, it's like we can't even just use like Xero or whatever because it's like it's tied to their license count and all these things. Right?
Totally,
so like, that has to be connected with everything. I mean, maybe we could have used the thing, an API, but whatever. There's all that stuff, but just built our own. It's a lot. I mean, I do think that's another thing where people should consider those kind of things. Like probably once people ask for them, but yeah, if you're selling the businesses, like a lot of them still they want to transfer, which is good for you too, because like the fee on Stripe is insane. Like when someone charges you if you have a $10,000 sale and they're taking $500 of it, like that's a pretty big chunk. So
yeah, we've started for bigger team sales. We've started pushing for straight ACH to our Mercury account, and it's great. And the bigger teams love it. That's what they want to do.
Right. That's what they're set up to do. Like that's how they pay things often. So this episode is sponsored by Mailtrap, an email delivery platform that developers love. An email sending solution with industry best analytics, SMTP, and email API, along with SDKs for major programming languages, and 24/7 human support. Try it for free at mailtrap.io. How is the team sales going? Give us an update. What's the update? Let's do some Aaron. This was too much Ian.
No, this was the right amount of Ian. Okay, so let's see. Update. Here's something interesting. I don't pay very close attention to sales at all.
Nice.
Like I'm not checking the dashboard. I don't know how much we're selling. I think I'm trying to like narrow my scope of what I care about / what I'm responsible for. And I think I've realized I'm responsible for the production side. I'm responsible for making the things, not necessarily for selling the things, or like in most cases not for supporting the thing either. Now when it comes to like technical questions, Kelsey does forward those on to me. So that's really nice. Like when we were in Boise, I was like, "Hey, how's the SQLite course doing?" And Kelsey like had it just in her brain immediately. She was like, "Well, last week we did about this. The week before we did about that." And I'm like, "Wow, that's pretty nice. Good job. That's awesome. I love that." But I do see in the sales channel, I do see like sales conversations flying by, and it seems like it's going great. We get a lot of inbound, and then this is just, man, I don't know if this is just like normal guy becomes business guy, but like watching Kelsey like respond to emails, or Steve like send cold outbound sales, or even Kelsey will use my LinkedIn account and message people like sales messages, and I'm like, stuff is happening and I'm not doing it. This freaking rules. I love this. It's the freaking best. Yeah. So I think that part's going super well. You asked me when I was flying to Laracon EU, and I told you I think it's this day, and I said I think because Kelsey handled all that. She booked it all for me. It's great. It's the freaking best. So sales are going business guy. Love being business guy. Sales in general are holding up quite steadily. Team sales I think are doing pretty well, but sales in general are holding up very well. This week is Black Friday week. It's also Thanksgiving, but more importantly, it's Black Friday week, and
make the money.
Trying to make some money. So SQLite and screencasting will be on sale. Postgres will not be on sale because it's not yet complete, and we will do the final release of Postgres videos maybe like a week or two after Black Friday to give it a little bit of breathing room. And then we'll use that as an opportunity to say early access is ending, which will hopefully give us the final bump from that course. And then next year we can refresh and do a Black Friday, but it's too early I think to do a Black Friday on that, having just released it. So yeah, hoping to print a bunch of money here this week.
So nice.
It's great. Digital products. Whoever thought that doing physical products was a good idea? Me, but we'll see. Yeah. But yeah, it's awesome. Yes. So, we've got a whole email sequence set up. We're ready with the discount codes. We're just like, we're ready. We're ready to execute on Black Friday.
That's so nice. Someone else did that, it sounds like.
And someone else did that.
You didn't have to do that.
I didn't have to do that.
So it's great about having, a partner is so nice that you can have like divide sides of the business, even if it's not fully divided, right? It's just like you can take days off of thinking about that part of the business, which is really nice. And then obviously once you start having employees, like it's so great because just stuff happens and you didn't do it and somebody's on it, and super key to everything. So we gotta get Caleb. Caleb's been on his podcast talking about hiring people. He's not. Pull the trigger, Caleb.
Pull the trigger, Caleb.
Pull the trigger.
You got to get somebody.
Gotta have help.
What does he need? A developer? He needs a developer, right?
I can see him going either way, but I think he needs the right kind of developer who's willing to do like some just customer service, but also like obviously bug fixes. Or he could go the other way and just do the hardcore developer who does a lot of stuff he does, and he does more, stays on doing that stuff. But I don't see him wanting to give up the hardcore development. Yeah. So I think probably, which is a hard hire to get somebody who doesn't want to just code, but they're out there. They're out there.
Oh,
that's
the
only type of developer I've ever hired. Because I don't ever want a just developer because in a small company it's kind of useless. There's just too much other stuff to do that's not just pure coding. So
you need a utility player.
Yeah, who's at least willing to do other stuff as needed. Cremo, actually, our new employee, is probably the most developer in terms of I haven't had him do much other stuff yet, but he is willing to do it, and that day will probably come here sooner rather than later. But yeah, so I think
we should hit Caleb with some some Yo Dogs. Hey, if you're listening to this and you want to be Caleb's employee, you should just DM him. Yeah.
Yes.
Just send him a message. Send him a message and
DM
tell him why
him.
you're perfect to go work at the Livewire empire.
I like
Just
this.
go slide into his DMs.
I think you should do it. Do that.
You
If
should.
you're looking for a gig, DM Caleb. Caleb has the bootstrapper syndrome, which I can relate to, which our president Donald Trump has too. I see this in him all the time, which is you only want to hire
president-elect.
President-elect.
Yeah.
You only want to hire people you know and trust, right? And that is how small businesses tend to operate. But it is very limiting because you only know and trust so many people, and how many of those people are available for work at the time you need them. So this is sort of an in-between. Like, people in our circle who Caleb may not actually know, but they must be smart, intelligent, beautiful people. They must be. If they're listening to this podcast. Good looking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if they're reaching out to him, that'll give you a leg up. I think that's a leg up right there.
That's how we hired our Linda, whose name is Kelsey. Is she DM'd me?
There you go.
Cold DM from the pod.
Happen. You just do things.
You can. She said, "Hey, heard about it on the podcast. Here's the reasons I'm great." And I was like, "That sounds great. Let's have a call." And it's been great. So, dear listener, give it a shot.
Yes. I mean, for people who are resident about the hiring process, it's like you have an opportunity to put yourself in front of them and make it easier for them. And if you have the qualifications and seem like you're going to be a good fit, leapfrog a huge line of if they actually get around to putting an advertisement out and then now have 1,500 people to go through. Now you're just one of 1,500. So yeah, I think that's a great strategy.
Also, great word of reticent. We're not just going to blow by. Yeah, that's a great use. You can't just let that one go.
Good night's sleep last night.
Yeah, firing on all cylinders. Reticent. Amazing.
It's all this logging. I get the things out of my head. It's like, ooh, here's the thing with the logging. I might push this too far.
Probably.
Right? So right now it's just in day one. It's just like a bullet list in day one. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. But I feel like, it's like, it would be cool to know, like, how much time am I spending on marketing versus code versus whatever. Yeah. And I want to spend more time marketing. Well, let me see if I'm actually accomplishing that or not, right? So it's like, so today I've been playing with Toggle, which is like a time tracker of like, so I could put a project, but for me, it's not a project. It's just like HelpSpot or Larajobs or marketing or whatever, and track it in there. It does feel that little extra heaviness, which I don't love. The extra
you just invented time tracking from whole
cloth. That's why I was obviously I went down the whole path over the weekend of like, I need to build this myself, right? So it started as a side project.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't. Everybody's like, there's 8 million versions of this, right? And we have somebody reach out to me with this owl.so. You should check that out. That's sort of a personal time tracker thing this guy's building. It's not live yet. I checked that out. It's cool, nice design. It's a little more on the personal end, I think, maybe than I would be looking for. So then I was like, I just threw in the towel and I was like, time tracker. Like, everybody knows, whatever. There's a million time trackers, whatever. I pick one. So I'm going to see how that goes. I might end up back in day one if I just want the pure lightness of here's a list of text and whatever. But we'll see.
So you said owl.so, and I immediately derided it because I was like, .so is the dumbest thing I've ever was. Get a real domain. You go to owl.so and it's gorgeous. What?
Yeah,
this
really
looks amazing.
Yeah, it's a very nice website.
What in the world?
I know.
Have you used this?
He did let me in, and I did use it a little bit.
Tell him to let me in. I'm gonna put my name in the little email box. Aaron, I'm not saying my email out loud. Okay. Join the wait list. No, I'm nowhere to be found. Yeah, tell this person in rainy Victoria, BC that I want to try it. This looks amazing.
I will let them know. Yeah, it's still, still early, but yeah, I think he's on to something. I sent him like a nice email. I think nice. I'll say it was a nice email with some.
You sent him an email. That's
an email with some feedback and things. But yeah, no, I think it's really nicely designed. And this is a perfect. Look at this. This is Aaron Francis in a nutshell right here. Which is I was on Blue Sky, right, cruising, and I was talking about the logging. And this person reached out and just publicly said, hey, just right on the feed, like, hey, like, I'm building this thing. And Ben Holman actually said, hey, it's good, I've used it a little bit, whatever. And so then I tried it, gave him some feedback. Obviously I'm like in there now and have my eye on it. Now we're talking about on the show. Now
Mhm.
you're trying it. Like
Mhm.
just putting yourself out there that little bit.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. We actually took it down. He posted it. We took it down. People following me on Blue Sky were so interested in it. They took down the site the night that he posted.
Wow, that's
And
awesome.
then, yeah, it was awesome. So hopefully got some signups for that and not just that it
Hopefully.
got taken down.
Yeah, hopefully
But
not just like high bills and no users. But
Right.
here's the meta on that.
Yeah.
You can just do things, but you also have to have the goods. This guy has
nice to
the
have the
thing
goods.
already built and out there, and now he can be talking about it. You
Yeah.
can't just talk. You gotta do the thing. And so this person's doing both. Way to go, Al.S.
Yeah, and even though the product itself isn't totally done, although it's like I'd say it feels like 80% to me or whatever. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you have the landing page, you're set up to collect email, like get that stuff ready early so that like, yeah, you can put it out there and let when you're ready to let people in early, or just when because sometimes the moment strikes where you have to talk about it, even if it's before you'd want to talk about it. And it's like, hey, at least now this is a landing page. You can send people to it. It's nice. Sign up, blah, blah. So
here's one thing I don't super love when somebody says they're working, like you say something like, oh, I'm building a project or working on a project, and somebody comes along and says, oh, I did something like that once. I just need to finish it and release it. And you're like,
clean it up, right? Yeah.
Okay, like everybody did something like that once. We've all got a million things that we've tinkered with.
Yeah.
But like, oh, I was doing that first. I did that. And you're like, where is it? Show it to me then. If you did it, show it to me.
If you did it,
this whole like, I'm gonna try to glom on to your posts and gain some traction or credibility for a thing that I once did.
I thought about doing.
It's like I'm unmoved. That doesn't move me.
Yeah, it is a fine line too, because it's like this one I think has a little, like it has a screenshot of the actual UI, right? It's not just like, oh, this is purely at the idea stage of like, there's no evidence this actually exists. It's just a landing page with some words. It's like, no, this feels like it's something that probably actually exists. It's like a full-on landing page, really. So yeah, so I think that this is like on the right side of that line.
Totally.
Anyway.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right. Well, give me in here. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll get you in.
Let's see what else is going on. Last week we did our first guest instructor course here at Try Hard Studios.
Yeah.
So there was somebody here in the studio all week last week.
Wow.
I know. It's crazy.
So now, how before we even get to how that went, like, what did you feel was like your level of responsibility for hosting? Like, were you out to dinner ever? None.
It's a good
every night
question.
Over your house? Yes, no. Meeting there every day? Like, what's the vibe of that whole thing?
Yeah, it was indeterminate at first. It's not something I super thought about. Like, I'm hosting this person. I more thought about like, I'm producing this course.
Right.
And I think I salvaged it. So I think I was a good host. I think. I'll let you decide. So this person's name is Steven. Steven and I went to dinner. We went to lunch the first day because he was here and we were like getting ready to record. We went out to lunch. The rest of the days I went and picked up lunch because he was like recording straight through. And so I'd go pick up lunch and we would eat out there for like 20 or 30 minutes and then he would come back and record. We went to dinner on Tuesday night, just the two of us. And then he was supposed to come over for dinner at our house on Thursday night, but of course everyone was sick. So unfortunately it was it was no longer invited because everybody was sick and nobody wanted to create dinner at home. And also our heat wasn't working, so that was a silly fun time as well. Beyond that, I picked him up from the hotel a few times and he Ubered a few times, which worked out great. But it was a lot more hosting than I had like planned on up front. And maybe that should have been obvious, but that's not really something that I've thought about. But I realized when he got here, he's like, this guy is in Dallas by himself. I gotta do something. I can't just like have fun. See you later.
I mean, I don't think that's necessarily true. I think in a pure business environment world, you would do one dinner and you'd be like, hey, you're on your own. You're here recording. Like, I think it's possible you could do that, but like but it doesn't seem like your personality to torture that
No,
either.
no, I've got way too much guilt to do that.
Right.
So yeah, I think it worked. I think it worked out great. And I also thought if I was in his shoes, I wouldn't want to do something every night. I would want to go back to the friggin' hotel and get in the cold bed and watch what's on cable TV. You know,
Right?
That sounds amazing.
Yeah,
I
have a week away. Let me enjoy myself. Yeah, you definitely don't want to have every night tied up.
No,
for sure. Yeah.
So it was fun. Fortunately, I enjoy being around him. There's a very real possibility where we do this again with somebody that I don't super like, and that's going to be a lot harder. Maybe I'll send them to Boise to record with Steve. But yeah, that aspect of it was great. Very delightful. Cool. Nice guy. Loved having him around. Lots of good conversations. So that part was great. Having someone in the studio all week was a little bit weird.
Right.
It was a little bit weird because I'm sitting out there. I know. I'm sitting out there in the living room. Can't really take any calls because this isn't surprisingly isn't built as a sound studio. This is residential apartment. It's crazy.
Right.
And so like if I'm taking a call, I'm stepping out into the hallway, or if I'm taking a long call, I'm going to sit in my car. It's like, oh, that's weird. This is my space. What the hell? So that part was strange, not bad, just different. And then I think there are a few lessons learned in terms of if we're going to do this again. So I think this is a great test case because he was incredibly good at recording all the videos. Like he blew through them all. I think he did like 51 videos in like 3.5 days. It's crazy.
Done? He got done?
Yes, he finished.
Now, does this inspire you that you could maybe do more of these than you thought you could do? Okay.
It does. It's like, I'm so inspired. Also, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? He like came in, one day he came in at like 8:30 a.m. and started recording. Comes out at like 11 or 12 or something. He's like, all right, I got 6 done. And I'm like, my dude, sometimes I just wrestle with existential dread until 2:30 or 3 p.m. and then I start recording. What is going on? And he's like, well, if you'd flown to Dallas from Germany, you might have a little bit more of a fire under you. It's like, yeah, maybe I got to fly to Germany to record courses. Yeah.
Maybe you should fly to Idaho and do it at the Kit Studios. You got Steve there. You do the Kit Studios for a week, and you're just like, we're here on business. This is what I'm doing every day. I'm not distracted with other stuff, and I'm just cranking through. That's what I'm doing. Like,
how insane would it be if my only studio was I had studios all over the country, but not here?
Yeah, I know. Maybe that would be better though.
Maybe it would.
Get in the right mindset.
I know. Another thing was he came super prepared, which I do some of my preparation as I'm recording. But he came ready to just record it all. So that was helpful. But things that we need to change. So hopefully, we do this. It makes a bunch of money. Everybody's super happy, and we'll do it again. Things we need to change. I need a recording computer. Instead of, because right now I run my dev and my recording all from this one MacBook Pro. And it works great for me. But we spent 3 or 4 hours just trying to get his machine ready to record. So we're downloading Blackmagic drivers, we're installing ScreenFlow and activating licenses. We're like copying these shell scripts over so that he can like set his windows up correctly. And I just thought, this is the dumbest. This is so stupid. This is a waste of time. What we need is
Mac Minis just set up.
Exactly. We need a Mac Mini M4 that the guest instructor or myself will run HDMI out of my computer into the recording computer, and it just shows up as a source. That's what we need. So that was a big lesson learned, which is fine. Like, that's, as far as lessons learned goes, that's pretty reasonable. So I do think hopefully we'll do it again, and it would be nice to invest in a recording computer where all the peripherals and all the recording software run on one machine, and you just plug in HDMI from your MacBook and run it into that capture device. That's the ideal. So I think that was probably the big takeaway. I think in the future, if somebody's not as like talented as Steven was, I need a list of like maxims, like record it, like do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this.
Right.
He and I talked about it a lot that first day, and also I think he's naturally gifted in that. But I have seen some courses where the videos go on for 30 minutes, and I'm like, guys, you need 6 5-minute videos, not one 30-minute video, because in a 30-minute video you're trying to teach 15 different things and people are lost. Also, it's intimidating to start a 30-minute educational video.
Feels like a big commitment.
Man, 30-minute like YouTube is like, I'm just kind of like having fun. 30-minute education, it's like, I'm going to class now. So I need to write down some of those aphorisms of like, do this, not that. Oh wow,
nice word.
$10 words. Yeah,
we're
it's
just
great.
showing off.
Oh man,
these education
must
we
be
got.
nice.
Wow.
But he nailed that part, so I don't feel like that was a miss. But yeah, I think, provided the economics are there, I think this could be extremely viable. I think flying someone to the studio and having oversight over it, like, takes it to a next level in terms of what the output is going to be. And I think it could be a good model for us going forward. We have to see, can we sell somebody else's course? That's the remaining open question.
Yeah. What do you think about the learnings here in terms of your new studio space? Like, are you going to soundproof it more so you could have somebody recording and you still be in there? Or like, since you're building out this new setup, I wonder if you're going to do anything different now.
Yeah, I think I do think one thing that we'll do different is have all of kind of this recording equipment here self-contained on, a 2x2 or 3x3 movable desk or something. A cart, exactly. That'll be one thing that I've realized, like, that might be kind of useful, especially as we have hopefully multiple recording locations. It'd be nice to be able to set the thing up and then turn it around for someone else to record later. And then in terms of soundproofing, I will absolutely test that better when we get there. So there's like the office room, which is like 12 by 20 or something, and the rest of it is warehouse. And I will need to see from the office room, what can you hear from the warehouse side. And I may end up building out a false wall with rock wool or something in it that like helps isolate those two rooms from each other. Because if somebody's in the little office space recording, I want to be out in the warehouse and be able to use an inside
running saws.
Or running saws. I don't know how much soundproofing we'll get in that regard, but I want to be able to live in the other space while they're recording.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to do some kind of heavy mats or a false wall with heavier insulation or something. We don't want to make it too hot in there either. I guess that's
no.
Probably it's air conditioning, I guess.
It does. Right?
Texas.
Both spaces do, which is nice.
So that's good. Yeah. That's really good. All right. So it sounds like it went well. When are you guys trying to release it? Next year, you said, right?
This is the other thing. We're gonna give ourselves some time. We've been just killing ourselves on deadlines, and this one we don't have to. Like we haven't talked about this beyond this podcast and a vague tweet. And so we're going to take time, we're going to edit it. And then I think we'll probably try to release it early in the new year, maybe late January, if not February.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Because you're going to have a lot of the same customers, I think. And it starts to feel like if you're just one after the other, it's like, well, I just paid these guys
I know
multiple times. So
give them time to forget that they paid us.
Right. Yeah, that's a key strategy. I like that. And that also seems like the kind of thing where you can do some business dealing maybe too, like, because it's like a Rails specific thing. So it's like, I don't know. I have no idea what the big Rails sites are, if there's like a Laravel News of Rails or whatever, but maybe there's some, stuff that the business end of your operation could poke around on and see if there's deals to be had or things that make sense in that regard too, to kind of build up more tentacles into the Rails zone.
Yeah, exactly.
But, well, it sounds like it went really well. I mean, that's great. Like if you can get 2 or 3 of those a year, plus you do 1 or 2 or whatever. I mean, that alone is pretty nice
sizable
amount
business.
of content. Yeah, I mean, like in 2 years, you're going to have 10, 12 courses or whatever if you were to keep that kind of pace. So it seems pretty solid. Nice. All right. What else is going on? Any other action over there?
Oh, I got on Laravel Cloud.
Oh yes, I saw you did that.
Mm-hmm.
How was it? Is it glorious?
Ian, it's good. It's very good.
I knew
it's
it would be.
it's very good.
I never had any doubts.
It's very good. It's beautiful, first of all, just like
Right.
the website or the application itself is beautiful, but it's also very considered. Like it's not just like hey, let's throw purple rays of light all over the site and
Right.
max out your fans. But
Or
it's
here's
like
500 pixels of white space just to have white space for no reason. Yeah.
give me a break. So it's
Right.
beautiful, but it's functional.
Yep.
And then the actual experience of deploying an application is just, it's super smooth. It's great.
man.
It's just what you
Oh,
want it to
man.
be. It's Heroku, but in 2024 for Laravel.
Right.
It's perfect. It's
Damn.
great. I love it. I love it. I have a few open questions like, how do I get FFmpeg on the server? Because I want to do, you know, some like video processing, just chop some stuff up.
Right.
And friend of the show, former employee, Chris Fideloper,
Got a man on the inside.
That's right. He was in the Slack and he was telling me some stuff. And so it seems imminently doable. I just haven't tried it yet. But beyond that, it just works, which is nice. And we're gonna 100%. We're moving AaronFrancis.com there and the TryHard platform, which is all of the courses. We're moving them there because of all of the things that we do that we shouldn't be doing, like, you know, encoding our own video. Right. Dealing with servers is definitely one of the things that we shouldn't be doing.
On the list,
yeah, like maybe you could make an argument we get some value out of being thought leaders in FFmpeg and hosting HLS videos for cheap. Like maybe that helps, but I don't need to apply patch updates to a server. That's just not anything I ever need to do. Yeah. No. So that's what I loved about Vapor, but Vapor, of course, has its limitations because, you know, it's ephemeral.
Right.
And so the platform is hosted on Forge, DigitalOcean, and this is like, I'm sure that Forge is going to continue to exist and be useful to a bunch of people, but I'm not using it anymore.
Right.
I'm going cloud, baby.
You're
I'm
out.
gone. I'm churning. So it's great. Look forward to it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I have a bunch of I have 10 servers at Linode. Because I'm big, everything gets its own server. Like, I don't like
what's the point?
I know you could put multiple sites on it. No. Like, everything just gets its own server. I don't want to think about it. I don't want one thing messing with another. So, I have 10 of these servers, and they're all just plain Laravel applications that are like a website for something. You know, it's even the Laravel site is 2 pages or whatever. You know, it's there's nothing there. So yeah, I think that hopefully I'll be moving stuff over to cloud as well. I'm sure some of it for sure, and possibly all of it. I would love to get HubSpot over there someday. That would it's a little more complicated.
Yeah.
But I mean, having these 400 servers we're managing, I'd rather just have them be 400 Laravel cloud servers we're managing.
It's
not managing, I should say.
Right.
But
make Fideloper manage them all.
Right. But Fideloper knows how both sides work, which is very interesting.
Yeah, he thought he got away.
He thought he got away. He did. He built HubSpot Cloud. He's been building Laravel Cloud. So
manage my fleet of servers again, Chris.
Tell us how to do it. But I'm assuming we actually just bought a bunch of reserve instances because we do that to save money on AWS. So I'm not thinking it's going to happen anytime soon. But when things stabilize over there and they add things like being able to install custom stuff easily and whatever, probably need an API, which I doubt, or definitely need an API, which I'm sure won't be there day one or whatever. But as that stuff comes along, definitely be something I'll be interested in checking out. Because I mean, and think about it. I mean, that's why they're going to make all the money, right? Like we all think about it oh, you know, I have my side projects on there, whatever. But there's companies like me who is I have 400 servers I want to move at some point, maybe someday, you know? So there's a lot of companies like that have hundreds and thousands of servers. And so you get a little chunk of that. Now you're talking some real money over there. So,
oh yeah, I think they'll be just fine.
Yeah. It's gonna be cool. And that was the thing. The design is crazy. They've both Laravel Cloud, but also
really
Nightwatch. That
Dude,
Nightwatch design
is crazy.
It's really crazy. I'm this is really, really, really good. It's really high level design. Just so good.
Yeah.
So I was blown away by that.
They're just gonna decimate that market when Nightwatch comes out.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be Nightwatch.
It's just Nightwatch.
Why would you use anything else? I don't know if they capture front end JavaScript errors. That's an open question to me. I don't know if Nightwatch does.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting too because the demo was more like about the performance stuff, but it definitely does seem like there's also the like bug tracking, not tracking, but you know what I mean, logging and exceptions and all that stuff. And yeah, if they do the JavaScript, it's like that would seem like the thing to use.
Gonna crush 'em.
So yeah, it's interesting how
And
like
they did when Jess was demoing it, she did have like 3 or 4 or 5 things on the sidebar that were blurred out.
Right.
That they didn't even demo. So that could be JavaScript errors. That could be all kinds of different stuff that they're tracking.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. It definitely, I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's both the platforms just make total sense too, which is, I love it. Like it just is the obvious thing to build, but then to do it so well, right? And yeah, just obviously with the Otwell touch on it, I would say. And yeah, it's gonna be huge, I think. Hopefully.
I think so. I think so.
It's cool to see too that like, took this investment and like what they've done with that, it's like they're really doing a lot of stuff with that. It's not just, it's stuff that Taylor wouldn't want to do without it,
They're not messing around, man.
They're not messing around. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So
they're moving.
You're gonna need another sit down. When do I get my next sit down with Taylor? I want another sit down.
I don't know. This may surprise you. That in fact is not up to me. That is up to Taylor. Yeah.
Talk to Taylor.
So I'm not the one that brings Taylor in. Taylor's the one that says, I would like to be brought in. Yes, sir. How high, sir? Yes. So I don't know. We'll do another interview at some point soon. That was a lot of fun. And, somewhat related, if anyone wants to give me $57 million, I will also do awesome stuff.
You got lots of ideas.
I'll do so much stuff. It'll blow your mind. It's crazy. So I just want that to be on the record.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm always torn about that. Like,
no,
I've obviously thought about this a fair amount. I don't know. There's a lot of responsibility with the money. I don't know. Big responsibility.
But there's also a lot of money with the responsibility. I mean, come on.
There's a lot of money with the money. That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. Answering to other people though, I'm so like, it's so baked into my core now that I don't answer to anybody, and that definitely has its detriments at times for me, but it also has obviously upsides.
Yeah.
Money. I don't know.
Being
money is a nice one. I think it would be cool. The way I would like to do that if I ever do it is if somebody, which I can't even imagine this happening to be honest with you for a number of reasons, but if somebody ever sold HelpSpot and I had enough money that I was like, I don't have to work, but then I had an idea that needed money. That's an interesting like scenario because it's like I'm not really beholden to you, right? Like it's like I have my own money. I hope this works and we all make a ton of money and we're fabulously wealthy. But at the same time, if it doesn't work,
if it doesn't work, I don't care.
I don't care.
That's what investors love to hear.
That's what they love to hear.
No conviction and
I don't know
no
if I
skin
would
in the game.
Stated to them like that, but that is that changes, which is actually like that's kind of Taylor's angle on it, right? Like he doesn't need the money. Obviously everybody likes more money, but he doesn't need the money, and so it does give him more freedom in that scenario, which I think is interesting. Versus, if you're just like, I'm doing a startup and I'm pitching people and this is going to be my full-time job and I don't have any, significant other money behind, changes the stress levels and all that.
Yes, totally.
So,
listen,
57 million, I'll take it.
You gotta prep HelpSpot for an exit, man. You got to spend the next 5 years prepping it to exit and then exit and just have a bunch of money and chill.
I just had this discussion this morning with Jamie. I've always
Did you log it?
I didn't log this, no. Because there's like, obviously there's like, okay, so I'm 48. So in, 15 to 20 years, I'm going to retire. So it's like, obviously like the standard software route here is like you sell it and that's what you do, right? But I always love the idea of like Userscape and Son, or Userscape and Sons, or Userscape and Daughter, or like.
And in this case, are you Userscape?
Yeah, I'm Userscape. That's the name of the company. So
typically they go with Ian and Sons, but I get it. Okay, so you're Userscape, so it's Userscape and Sons.
Yeah, you want like Landsman and Sons or something like that. Yeah, it could be that. I like Userscape and Sons.
Userscape and Sons. Okay.
But that old timey, you can see the sign,
I love
right?
It.
It's like the ampersand with the end, sons or daughter or whatever. I got all the options on the table. And one of the kids just takes over. It's just like a family business. Like they just continues. Now, none of my kids are interested in software development.
I was
so
gonna say
far.
you should put all of your hopes in that and see how that works for your
Then be
relationships.
mad at everybody,
Yeah.
be horrifically mad at everyone for
Yeah.
decades when they don't do it. Yeah.
This is going to be the great reversal. You have a software company that you want your sons to be a part of, and they go and be farmers instead.
Right.
It's like instead of dad's a farmer and you go to the big city, dad's in the big city and you go to farm.
Maybe they'll start like a hardware store and it'll be like Sons and Dad or something, you know?
There you
like
go.
It could be the reverse.
Sons and Userscape. It has a nice
yeah,
ring to it.
Sons and Userscape.
I like that. Yeah.
So I don't know, but I never really like. It's like the idea of like people just taking it over is sort of interesting. I don't think it's going to happen because nobody's really interested so far. They're still young. Who knows, right? But I don't know. It's not something we ever talk about in software. So I thought that just part of it was intriguing. It's like nobody ever is really all these other businesses. It's a huge thing, right? Like
Very
tons
normal.
of businesses
Very
are
normal.
like, well, the kids work in the business and then someday they take over the business. That's like
nepotism
totally
is a
standard.
well-trod path.
Yeah,
Very
exactly.
standard. What was Jamie's take on it?
Oh, she just thinks it's funny. She was just like laughing at me, basically. But
oh yeah, I'm familiar with those responses
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Oh, that's a great idea. Did you take out the trash? Oh, okay.
Right, yeah.
we're
right,
done with this
exactly.
conversation.
She was like, because I was like, well, nobody's really interested in this stuff. But she was like, well, they're young, whatever. So we'll see when they're done with school and all that. But that's not even how that works, right? In the old days, it wasn't like when you were done with school. It's like when you're a kid, you're like in the hardware store with me, stocking the shelves and whatever, and that's like how it goes. My oldest son has worked here for a summer, and my middle kid is gearing up to do something. It's hard. It's like not a good business for young kids to do stuff in, which is unfortunate. It's like, what do you have them do? Like link check, or there's some stuff like that, but it's just like there's not like an obvious thing that a 14-year-old can really dig their teeth into for a whole summer.
Not really.
So, I don't know, but
I think you need to spend the next 5 years with an eye towards an exit. And maybe that doesn't come to fruition and you get to hand over a better business to a child. A business that is, streamlined and ready for sale, and turns out they want to take it over, and they take it over, and it becomes Userscape and Son.
Right.
But the time is going to come when you want all that stored up equity to become cash, US dollars. That's true. Now's the time to prepare for that.
It is. I mean, that kind of overlaps already with my thinking, which is like, as the kids get bigger and I have more like time and energy, this is always that was where I was heading this year. But then this whole like gallbladder illness is like totally blown up this year. But assuming that 2025 doesn't have a bunch of stuff blowing me up like that, I do feel like there's going to be just more time and energy I'll have towards the business in general. And so that's kind of the same thing in my mind. In a large part, it's like, all right, get the business on better footing, solve some of the tech debt stuff, which was what we're working on, which then builds, the foundation for like the new features and things and all that stuff. So, and yes, worst case scenario, you end up with a better business, which makes more money, and that's a great outcome. And then, selling those businesses is always, at the very least, it's always possible just on a straight, spreadsheet plan of like, well, this is your revenue and this is the multiple of a business with this size, with this profit, blah, blah, blah. That's not the best kind of deal, but that is always a deal that's available because it'll just be a money person that's like, yeah, I can do this, math this out, and it makes sense, and that's fine. Obviously, if you get something more strategic, that's where you get a better outcome. But so I think that's sort of the plan, even if it's somewhat indirect.
New idea. Laravel Inc. buys it.
Oh, there we go.
It's a great idea.
In the help desk
Keep
game.
it in the family.
Get in the help desk game. That would be awesome, like full circle kind of like
man,
thing.
can you imagine?
Yeah. Right.
One of your former employees acquires you. That would be awesome.
Taylor to acqui-hire me, right? Like just acqui-hire me. That's it. Give me a job running coffee
Chief
somewhere.
Business Dad.
Yeah, I'll be business dad, corner office. Business
dad
advice.
COO Tom is going to be like, what the hell does Ian do here? He's business dad.
Dad.
Of course. Obviously. He's business dad.
How are we going to operate without business dad? Come on. He's the godfather. That's why he's doing here.
Tom would hate that.
He just sends the Godfather devs. Yeah, Tom doesn't seem like the kind of guy who wants a guy who just does Godfather devs.
No, I don't
memes
think Tom,
all day in Slack.
Tom goofs around quite as much as we do.
Yeah. Oh, well. That's all right.
His loss.
His loss, exactly. But it's funny when people project stuff like that. Like we can project everybody into that, right? Like, oh, they should buy you. They should buy Aaron Francis
should.
Inc. And like,
Yes, I agree.
you're the content arm now, right?
Yes,
Like,
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm for sale. I'm sorry if I ever intimated that I wasn't, but I am for sale.
You'll take less than 57 million, you think?
Less,
I don't know.
way less.
Interesting.
Yeah.
24? Something like
Yeah, I would take 24 million.
You would?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a penny less, but yeah.
Oh, geez. I don't know. I feel like they have a plate full. I hope they don't do anything else. I feel like you got 2 products. You got to launch these products and be successful with both of them. They're both huge. Just want them to like execute on those 2 for a while and like nail those and hit a home run and be so busy with those that like doing anything else would be stupid, because I just feel like those are huge opportunities. And it seems like
my guess is they'll launch these 2 big things, and then for the sake of the narrative, they'll put out some big open source thing. That's my guess.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see some big open source or something they could extract from them that is a big open sourcey type element that is useful and cool, but something like that maybe. Yeah, it would make sense for them to have some big open source sort of announcements here. I don't know. But everything seems to be running fine, you know?
Oh, it seems
everybody's happy.
They're so
like,
happy
for the most part, right? Like
it seems to be going great.
Yeah, I feel like there's not even like the upstart frameworks anymore, you know? There's like there used to be like upstart frameworks that's mostly died off. So I don't know. And they're still every week there's a release, or every other week it's like
it's
they're
crazy.
Still cranking. Yeah. They're very productive over there.
They are. Good for them.
Yeah. All right. I don't know.
Let's do it.
Nope. Wrap it. All right.
I do want to hear people's feedback on the new and improved sponsorship idea, the AM radio taglines. I want to hear people's feedback on that.
10-second spots.
Yep.
Let us know what you think of that. Yeah, and tell Caleb you want a job if you're in the market.
That's right. DM Caleb. Sorry, Caleb.
Otherwise, mostlytechnical.com, Mostly Tech Pod on Twitter, Mostly Technical on Blue Sky, which I didn't write down, but I'm pretty sure is correct. And Mostly Technical Podcast at gmail.com, which I need to check. If you've emailed, I haven't checked it in a little bit, but I will check it today. It'll go on the log. And we will talk to you next week. Later.
See ya. Bye.